Or my favorite, the Arnold.
Maria,
Right, get these people air. Right.
yeah, get the job. Let's finish this video.
If you keep this, I'm gonna sue you.
I'm not. I was just thinking. This is so much stuff for me to have to cut out.
If
Right.
you keep this in the video,
I
I'm
won't.
gonna sue you.
Hey guys, Marsningan here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so a new banner is on the horizon. So yet again, we are putting out a video to give you guys a little bit of advice, I guess, on whether you should summon or skip on this BOUJACK banner. And you guys that liked it the last couple of times around when I made these into a little bit of a discussion video with a guest rather than just doing it by myself. So for today's episode, we have our good friend, the man of many voices. Say hello to TOONRAMI.
Yellow. Who better to bring on for a discussion about whether or not you should summon than the person with the dumbest takes when it comes to Dokkan decisions?
Exactly,
Good
right?
call.
I thought it'd be fun. But yes,
glad to be on.
it's nice to get the perspective of somebody else who's a global main as well. So
It's fun to talk to the other side of the Dokkan world.
But yeah, so obviously I say this in most of these summon related videos, but you know, for people like Toon or I, or if you are a big whale, regardless of whether you're a content creator, you'll probably be summoning anyway, especially if it's for a character that you like or for a team that you want to build. So these videos are more aimed at people who are free to play or maybe only spend a little bit here and there. So essentially we're going to go through the units a little bit, talk about the banner, and then some of the other mitigating factors. So first of all, I have BOUJACK up on the screen here. He introduces the Space Traveling Warriors category. 170 across the board is a very, very good leader skill. And then his sub-leader skill is the Time Travelers category 150, which is the same as Int Goku Black. So he's been even more made irrelevant now, I guess. But what do you think of the BOUJACK overall? And do you weigh any do you put any weight in people's complaints that he's just a copy of Cooler?
So, I am not at a point yet in Dokkan where having multiple overpowered units that essentially do the same thing bore me. Because for me, that's just fun. For me, having ridiculous amounts of devastatingly powerful units is fun to me. So combine the fact that this guy's kind of a cooler clone, along with the fact that he covers so many amazing units across those two categories that he leads, he makes for an awesome unit for me to just slaughter a bunch of events and like destroy everybody in. For me, this is fun. I'm not at that point yet where like I have, unit fatigue where two units look the same, they function the same. I'm not there yet. I'm sure some people have reached that point, but for me, I still am in that honeymoon phase of having all of these broken units running around, tormenting everything in its path. So for me, this is awesome. Looking at that category, man, like the type of units that you'd be running with BOUJACK, like the stats are insane. Jiren, you got Turles, you got you could bring the other BOUJACK, and then there's just like so much carnage in store with this category. I can only see nothing but positives with this.
Yeah, exactly. And the big thing for me is, like, if you're gonna copy a unit, what better blueprint to use than Cooler?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I think that Cooler and now BOUJACK, they have the perfect blueprint for what I want to see for a category leader, which is obviously they provide support to the category, and then you can choose whether to transform them, and then they lose that support but become like a hard-hitting damage dealer. And then that gives you the option to, if you don't want to run them on main rotation, you just never transform them and use them as a support unit. And it gives you so much more team building options and units. We almost got there earlier on before those units came out, and after using him again recently in a video, I would say that's one of my primary complaints about units like, say, Android 13, because he's an Android leader, he supports androids pre-transformation, but then you have no control over his transformation, and then he's not a support unit anymore. So units like Cooler and BOUJACK, they are super good for that.
That's kind of a trend that I've been noticing recently, where units, some of these newer units have had some utility in the third slot, which I have had great appreciation for, because a lot of times when at this point in, this 5 years into Dokkan, you might have a couple of teams that are just ridiculously stacked with units that you want to use, but you just have to rotate one out. So the fact that units have utility in that third slot make your team more complete and well-rounded And it's a more satisfying feeling knowing that you might be rotating them out, but they're serving their purpose as they go out.
Yep.
So something like this, just like you said, if you don't even want to use them as a lead unit, just have them run around as a support on the flex spot. I find that so useful, and I love that more and more units that we're getting in the game are getting that type of an ability where they serve their purpose, and then they contribute to the team by, not even being there. So this BOUJACK doesn't explicitly have some sort of a special ability in the third slot, but like you said, he's just a support, and you typically rotate your supports out, so he does his job no matter where you want him.
And then just like Cooler, he's good enough after transforming that if you do want to run one, you could have one main rotation where you're running, say, him and the LR, and then just keep the friend, or whichever one has the less dupes, is normally how I do it, have the other one floating as a support unit. So it's what I like to refer to, it's been a meme for a while now, but it's the physical transforming Vegeta problem. The fact that he's the Pure Saiyans leader, but if you don't want him on main rotation, he basically doesn't do anything for the team if he's a slot 3 floater, whereas these guys are super good for that. So obviously, like we said, the category looks very good. I was having a quick look through that on the screen once Toon brought it up there. And one addition, which is of course the new side banner unit on the BOUJACK banner, is the first, well, I say first summonable, I guess that's not an SR. So we have a standalone Zangya. She looks like a fairly interesting unit. I would say my biggest criticism of her overall is while she's on other categories like Peppy Gals, Resurrected Warriors, because of the way her passive works, you're probably only really going to use her on the Space Traveling Warriors team. And as we were just discussing, that team is so ridiculously good. I mean, what do you think? If you do your summons, whether you get BOUJACK or not, I guess, if you do pull her, do you think she would actually be good enough to make your Space Traveling Warriors team build?
I mean, only if you run the BOUJACK. The main reason why I'm a little down on Zangya was just because Extreme Tech has always been dying for more and more units. And so, your first thought when you see an Extreme Tech is, all right, is she good? Or is he good?
Yeah.
And the fact that this unit can't run without the BOUJACK, without severely limiting the potential, is very disappointing. So when I saw this, immediately I thought, okay, so basically, if I'm running this on an Extreme Tech Super Battle Road, Extreme Super Battle Road, this Zangya is functioning basically as a Guldo. Because Guldo, I think, does the same thing where when you attack an enemy, you lower their attack and defense or something like that temporarily. There is a little extra utility with the lowering of attack and defense, but without having BOUJACK, she's essentially just dead weight, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because also just the links aren't there, so... Yeah,
because I brought it up here, the only one you could technically use... There's a tech BOUJACK in the barbershop who doesn't even have a TUR, so... If you're taking this guy into Extreme Super Battle Road just so you can use Zangya, you're probably going to have a bad time. So, But yeah, I think she could have been massively increased in utility if the Space Traveling Warriors part wasn't. If it was, like we saw with the recent with Mira Toa and their awakenings, if it was extreme class enemies instead of Space Traveling Warriors, then she would at least fit a little bit better because you get the additional attack if you have a BOUJACK, and then that's kind of the only real bonus she gets from him. But yeah, unfortunately, as it stands, you can't even really make a full Extreme Tech Space Traveling Warriors team anyway. So it's
what also kind of sucks
a little bit
is that
for her.
Lately with these Dokkan Fest banners, the side units have been pretty good to the point where they could be their own Dokkan Fest if they had a little bit more. This might be the first one in recent memory where if you don't pull the headliner and you pull the side unit, you might feel a little more empty from that summoning experience as opposed to other banners. Yeah,
I suppose the good thing that they've started doing with these side banner units is if you say you only jump in for a couple of summons, if you pull her and not BOUJACK, because they've started doing this thing now where the side units have the new category leader skill, but obviously at a slightly lower rate, at least it means you can then still run that team with a friend BOUJACK, because 120% leader skill, if you then have a friend BOUJACK, is still going to be good enough to clear harder events. So at least there's that. But yeah, like you said, especially with the ones that spring to mind are the Worldwide Celebration units, the Boo Piccolo and the TN, those for side banner units, they're so good.
The Kibito Kai,
Yeah, so unfortunately Zangya kind of falls to the wayside a little bit, which is a bit of a shame. So Moving on to the final part here, we're just going to have a quick look at the banner. This is what it looked like on JP. The big thing, of course, that comes to mind for everybody that's been discussed recently all over the timeline is what is going to happen with this slot right here, because Tech Gohan was added to the Gogeta banner, made the Gogeta banner, in my opinion, a must summon, the inclusion of him and discounted multis. So the problem is that Gohan being included on BOUJACK's banner gave this banner a huge amount of extra value, even if you're someone who maybe wasn't too bothered about BOUJACK himself. So what are your thoughts about this? Because it seems pretty unlikely that it will just be Gohan again. Now, I'm not going to put you on the spot to make a prediction of who do you think will replace him, but what do you think
you a dumb
will go
answer.
forward? Yeah?
You want a dumb answer?
Go for it. Why not? That's why I brought you here.
Goku Black.
Oh, God.
This is effectively the last time that Int Goku Black will have any sort of relevance in Dokkan, right? Because BOUJACK completely, overtakes him. So who better to throw on
to troll
for
everyone.
one last hurrah than the unit that had the leader skill that you wanted for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be completely useless.
Yes, I guess just like Cooler, it's kind of like how Cooler just immediately replaced STR Super Boo. So
Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, shout out to my boy, Mr. T, who I'm sure is watching, for his bizarre prediction, which I still don't think is going to come true, but he thinks that Gohan's going to be replaced by AGL Turles, because people who summoned for Turles and pulled him, the LR, will then be able to use him on BOUJACK's team if they do pull BOUJACK, but that doesn't really matter. I don't think they're going to replace like one of the best TURs in the game with a fairly outdated category leader. But shout out to you if it does happen.
But I would be
incredibly
very happy
surprised
if they do it Goku Black. That would actually make me so happy.
I mean, I think mine is Rainbow, so I don't want another unit I don't need extra copies of.
What do you mean? What if he gets an EZA though?
True, but I mean, when it comes to those kind of EZAs, you get the free Kais anyway, so having the secondary copy is not a huge issue. But I don't see anyone else changing. Like Future Gohan, obviously he was a meme for a while, he didn't come back for ages, so he hasn't been around in a bit. I think that's fine. The physical Future Gohan, Bardock, 13, they're all decent units still in the current meta, so I don't see any issue with them. But yeah, the big one is Gohan, because if you think about the recent units, like units that I think realistically could replace him are only going to be units like Beerus, Kefla, Blue Koken Goku. I don't think any of those are like hype enough levels that would convince someone who maybe wasn't going to summon, but maybe would have if Gohan was on there. I don't think any of them are at a high enough level to convince those people to summon. What do you think?
And not only that, they've all been around recently, which is why I didn't even want to bring them up.
Exactly.
Because there's no appeal in having a unit return like 3 times in 4 Dokkan Fest banners or something like that. You know, like it also hurts the value of a Dokkan Fest banner.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only thing I could think they could do off the top of my head, because obviously they're not going to put Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta on here because his banner literally goes away a minute before this one comes out. But if they put physical Angel Frieza on here, now I know he only came out a little while ago, but that would be the move that they could make that I think would then make people summon. I just think it's very unlikely that would happen. But
that would be pretty good. That would be pretty good actually. But it's too soon.
Yeah, and then of course the final thing to mention is just like the last couple of Dokkan Fests, so hopefully this is becoming a trend, because I do think these are a very useful thing for global players to have access to. We are getting a Dokkan Festival ticket from the Pilaf Trove. I think you get the ticket every time there is one as well.
Yep, I do.
Yeah, I think they're good.
Do.
I think they're
scam,
good value.
I always get it.
Yep, they're good value for what you get. If you equate it to how much it would cost you to buy stones to do the same amount of summons, it usually costs slightly less. So for someone like me, who I only really like to buy sale stones and then things like this, if I pull BOUJACK off the ticket, it means I can still pick up the sales, and then I'll just be saving them for whatever comes next. So I do think that is a factor. If you're somebody who spends a little bit here and there, maybe buy the ticket and try your luck before you buy any stones. It's usually the way I look at these kind of things. So considering everything that we've talked about, if we get down to a sort of final verdict, when it comes to people out there, what do you think? Is this a summon or a skip?
if you've invested a considerable amount of time and resources into this game, I think you should summon, because the potential to enjoy a brand new category with a crazy amount of combinations is pretty appealing. I know that may not be the general consensus for BOUJACK because the 6th year and all that stuff. And while I totally understand saving for the 6th year is one thing, I'm talking about the people who want to enjoy the game right now. If you are fully fixated on saving till the 6th year, there's no reason for me to try to convince you otherwise. But for those of you who want to still enjoy the time before the 6th year, I would say jumping into this banner and trying your shot at getting that BOUJACK would be pretty awesome, because if you got him, you've got a whole just pool of units to just tear up events with. It would be really, really rewarding, especially if you have that Turles. Even if you don't, though, there's still plenty of opportunity to enjoy this category. So, yeah, do a couple summons. That's my answer. Do 2 at most if you're not sure.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And one thing I guess we forgot to mention is the fact that Gogeta had first 3 multis were discounted. And that
it was 25, 35, 45 or something like that.
Yeah, it was 100 stones for 3 multis. That in and of itself is a game changer. If this banner has that, I would probably say, like, unless you are free to play and fully dedicated to saving, like, everybody should do those because they are such good value. But yeah, I agree with Toon. The comparisons to Cooler are many, not just in the unit itself, but just like Cooler, he leads a team that is insanely good, can be run as a support unit if you don't want him on main rotation. So he's just one of those units that's really good to have in your box when it comes to all the different options you can have for team building. So I would say that he is worth summoning for, like Toon said, even if you just want to throw a couple of multis at it and then go back to saving. But yeah, I think that is definitely a good idea. So you always see people who are in that saving mindset that will call like every new banner that isn't the hypest character in the whole world an easy skip, but I think BOUJACK is definitely not that. So any final thoughts before we head off?
Last thing, I mentioned this earlier, Guldo doing the same thing that Zangia did. Zangia lowers enemies' attack and defense by 20%. There's no turn. I don't know exactly what the fine print means, if it's for multiple turns, but for Guldo, it's lowered enemies' attack and defense by 20% for 2 turns. So they're basically
three turns for her.
For her, it's 3 turns?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, basically they're the same if you run them on extreme tech. Because she's not going to be getting that crazy passive. If she's just running that, as an extreme tech, that's all she's going to do, and then give you an extra 10% HP at the start of the turn.
Mm-hmm.
So, congratulations, Zangia. You are an upgrade from Guldo.
Well, on that note, I guess we'll be heading off. Let us know down below, guys. Do you plan to summon? What are your thoughts on who you think will replace Gohan on the banner? Be very interesting to see. Obviously, we should get the news update tonight, but they only ever show like the teaser image of the banner, so it will literally just be BOUJACK and Zangia. So we won't know until basically the banner goes live who it's going to be. So let us know who you think it will be down below. So that is going to be it for me, the Masked Ningen, and TOONRAMI. Thank you all for checking out the video. Smash that like button, subscribe if you are new, and we will see you all again soon. Have a good one.
I'll talk to you later.